You are listening to Museek's Behind the Musos.
What's up, y'all? This is Samuel Jr., aka St. Pyrex, independent artist from Western Sydney. And this is my song, Do the Dance, featuring Ash Sways. Check it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Behind the Muso. I am Josh. I am joined by Will and St. Pyrex. G'day, how are you going?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
That's good. So let's just get straight into it. Your single Do the Dance is coming out very soon. We're lucky enough to get a sneak peek at it. How do you feel about its upcoming release?
Pretty excited. I don't know what to expect. I just decided. So the reason behind this release was just that I'm dropping on my little bro's birthday, and this is one of his favorite songs from me, even though it's not at all my sound. But I just thought that I haven't dropped in a while as well, so I just thought before I begin my proper rollout, I'll give it, the streets a little taste test.
That's so exciting. Your brother must be very excited to hear that coming out on his birthday. It's just your gift to him, art. It's completely priceless. But it's good to get out of your comfort zone and try something that isn't exactly your sound. It's very, what's the word? It's admirable.
Absolutely. So I want to ask a little bit about that release process. So you've decided to drop it on your little brother's birthday. Does that add to the stress or the pressure that you feel when releasing music, and how does that usually feel for you?
Yeah, pre-release is a very stressful time. Like it really is. This release, not really though, because my release plan for this is very fan based, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna be releasing it. Its first release is gonna be on SoundCloud and YouTube. And then through Instagram, the people will decide if I'm going to make it all platform or not. And I'm going to have a lot of these type of releases throughout the year, at least once a month, because focusing on a proper release plan is like the release plan itself is 5 weeks. And by that, like before the 5 weeks even start, you got to have your product ready, mixed, mastered, visuals finished. It's a very long process. And if I just keep doing those types of stuff, I'm probably going to end up releasing like 5 songs a year. So I figured like I'm going to have, start off with the SoundCloud drops and try and get as much content out this year, I guess.
Yeah. So have you ever done a release like that before?
The SoundCloud?
Yeah, like SoundCloud. Oh yeah.
This is the first one.
That's good. You should definitely take a look at Dom Valley. I think that's what his name is on TikTok. He's the guy who wrote Bin Himmer. If you have heard that recently, it went viral on all social media. And he did this really interesting thing where he released it on SoundCloud before he released it on all platforms. So his name's Dom Valley or something. And he's just taken over TikTok pretty much with these kinds of releases. So if that's something you're into, you should definitely, look him up, analyze his content and just really take it in, because his debut drop 500K in a week, got on Spotify editorial playlist, is absolutely killing it, and independent as well. So definitely look him up if you want to, make sure you do that kind of release properly. But moving on to the next question, how do you feel your music has progressed since your first release?
Okay. My music is like constantly progressing. And the thing is, like, with how long each release takes, I would have evolved like 3 times. Like, because I took a massive break from releasing last year, and just to get everything, my whole brand and everything just like up to scratch and everything. So, but like even through those periods, I've never stopped, not for one day, like working on my craft. So I feel like per release, you're going to get a crazy different side of me every single time, because my bank is endless right now. Like the vault is like really big.
Right. So do you have any plans to like drop an album, or are you just going to keep doing it single by single?
This year, I already have one EP ready, just out the gate, but I have to pick the perfect time. I'm thinking like mid-year. Hopefully, I can get two out by the end of the year. That'll be sick. But I'm more focused on utilizing and making the most out of each drop more so than like pushing a whole lot of shit.
Definitely you want to get value for money.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the creative process from start to finish, from beginning to write the piece of music all the way through to its release, takes a long time with the mixing, the mastering, the art, and everything that comes along with it. What's your favorite part of that process, and where do you spend the most amount of time?
Mm. Um, my favorite part of any song that I make, this is even before I decide to release it, because preparing the release is not fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's just so much stress, so much stuff you have to do. But my favorite part of any like drop that I do is the car test. You
Hmm.
know,
What's the car test? Talk us through that.
the car test is like, and I'll be doing car tests every single day. It's like my favorite part of the day. Pretty much what you're doing is like whilst you're making the song, a lot of people tend to like, do like add some input into their project, take a step back, listen to it, add some more, take a step back, listen to it, all of that. But what I do is like, say I have a session happening, I'll finish whatever I got to do, and then the car test is like strictly devoted to like me taking a step back and pretending that I've never listened to this song before, pretending that I've never heard of anything to do with Samuel Jr. You know, listening to like I pretend that I'm a listener from Sydney that has such low expectations for what to hear out of Sydney, and then they hear that, and a lot of the times it's like you got to accept that sometimes it's mid, but there are those times where you just look back, it's like, Jesus Christ, I did that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that must be really nice to be able to take a step back and view it kind of objectively. Do you ever
Yeah.
involve other people in that? For example, you talked about your little brother just before. Do you ever get someone else's perspective other than just taking a step back yourself?
I did for a while, and that because the thing is, like, I was very that person where I'd be like, "Hey, do you like it? What do you think is wrong with it? Tell me more about what you think." You know what I mean? But um, I actually learned this from a good friend of mine. He was like, "So right now, I don't do that at all anymore because, in my opinion, my input is enough. What I think is enough. So if you're gonna continually like." One person says this, oh, I gotta tweak it. Another person says this, I gotta tweak it. It's not your song anymore. Like you're trying to please too many people, and the person that you're supposed to be pleasing is not getting gratitude anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Right now, my mental state is like, if I like it, I don't give a fuck. Like straight up. Makes
Yeah.
me happy.
I think people who listen to your music can tell when it's you who enjoys yourself because, if you listen to an artist who's just having fun, you can't really explain it, but you can tell. And it
Mhm.
just attracts you more to their music. You're just like, this person's enjoying themselves. I'm going to listen to them. And, everybody has their own opinion. So you can't cater for everyone. You just do what you want. If you don't
Yeah.
like it, don't press play next time.
Otherwise, you'll
It's fine.
spend forever chasing your tail and chasing the
Yeah.
perfection which doesn't exist.
Yeah, then releases end up taking a year and a half for no reason. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. And when it's already a struggle long enough, 6 months for a release and 2 releases a year,
mhm.
then if you do you, that's all we want to hear. So that
Yeah.
is absolutely perfect.
So you've touched on how releasing music is a very timely process, and it, I guess, is withholds you from you reaching your full potential at times. But in this song, Do the Dance, have you had any obstacles that you've encountered, and how did you deal with them?
Um, Not really. because this song was actually the first song I made when I came back from overseas, and it sat in my bank for a solid 4 or 5 months before I even considered doing something with it. And then, it'd be times when my brother would be like, "Oh yeah, can you play that song in the like?" While we'd be in the car, "Can you play that song? Can you play that song? Can you play that song?" I'll be like, I might have to do something with it. And like with all the SoundCloud releases, they're not really gonna have a massive issue. They're never gonna be a massive issue for me because these are songs that have already been made. A lot of my SoundCloud releases are gonna be songs that are over 2 years old, at least. You know, so they've already been done and dusted. I've already moved on to a different phase in my artistic growth, I guess. So these are all stuff that like they represent a time and place for me, I guess. That's why I don't want to give like I don't want to devote it for its a proper release plan with a music video and all platforms and all of that, because I feel like those ones should be the ones that are representing my life right now, or what I'm on right now. So, and I've been recording for like almost maybe over 3 years now. So there's a lot of songs in the bank, and a lot of them are like really good. And I get people asking me like, "Oh, yo, when's this dropping? When's this dropping?" And I hate telling people it's not gonna drop. Like, it's never gonna drop. So I just thought like, yeah, the SoundCloud thing would be a way for me to keep the people fed while I'm working on my better shit.
That's a good idea. So do you just release it whenever you feel like it, or do you have a rough sort of plan for SoundCloud?
Oh, I do. I'm gonna try and do once a month. I will be doing once a month actually. Hopefully, I could be able to do two. And you know, from my experience working on like current releases and all of that, you can never predict the time that you expect it to be out. I've had many incidents where I've announced it's dropping this month, and then it ends up having to drop like many months after because the amount of complications you run into is like ridiculous. So um, I can use the SoundCloud releases, like maybe something falls back with my main release, I can drop two in 1 month just to make up for it. And I'm never going to be short on songs. Like,
Right. It sounds like you've got a massive catalog. How often do you reckon do you hit the studio and record a song?
um, I'm in the studio every day, but before I went overseas, my recording process was like just make as much music as possible. So I would end up making like 5 songs a week on average. Now I would say I make 1 song a week, but I'm working on that song every single day. I'll come back to it and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this line, retake it. Maybe I can do a better verse, redo it. Like I've had to redo so many verses, but like that's my new process now because I feel like that way I'm still using the same amount of studio time, but this way I may be making less songs, but each song I'm giving it its time and attention kind of thing. It's like starting an assignment like a week early compared to like the night before.
Yeah, and so it just turns into a sort of patchwork quilt of improvement day after day. You
Exactly.
can just sit back in the studio and listen to what you've done and just continue working on it. That's fantastic. So, looking to the future now, what direction do you intend to take with your music? So, do you plan on trying new instruments, new genres, new features in your music, whatever it might be?
Okay. My sound's very what I'm going for is very, especially compared to what we're given right now in the Sydney scene. It's very far away from like the cliche pop sound that you're getting, because with trap and drill, you're getting like, how do I say this without stepping on toes? Um, like props to all the artists that are out there. You're doing your thing, but you're all like a lot of it instrumental wise is all sitting within the same framework. Now with me, my main is R&B, and again with R&B, you're getting a lot of the R&B that might suit the club. It's still got a big bump. It's still got a bump to it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Mine sits very far away from everything that's like associated with that. You know what I mean? I want to create music. Like my intention is to create music that still sounds fucking mind blowing, but it doesn't sit in none of your criteria. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of like atmospheric music. I use instruments and perks and sounds that you wouldn't even consider using. A lot of my sounds I get off like other videos from YouTube, like an actual movie scene, instead of just going into like 808 Mafia drum kits or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm always trying different stuff. Like,
I always thought the process of sampling just random stuff and using them as instruments is one of the coolest things you can do as like a music producer. It's like, oh, this doesn't sound like a cymbal, but I'll use it as one. And then it's just, getting those creative juices flowing, doing something, I guess, unorthodox, but it's pretty cool. I really like that sort of music.
yeah, one of my favorite like instruments to use is like the raindrop. You know, the bloop.
Yeah.
Like anything that's like just because like when I listen to the people that I look up to, the main thing that comes into my head is like, what were you thinking? What were you on for you to come up with that? Like, you don't get that if you're listening to a pack that's just filled with stuff that like Lil Baby has used a million times. I want you to surprise me. Tell me something I've never seen before. That's my whole like,
Sounds good, delivering something new, something that the people want to hear. It's good stuff. Good recipe for success, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. So a sort of follow-up question to that, I suppose. Do you have plans for a 5-year time frame or a 5-year long project? What's your goal in 5 years?
5 years, I expect to be Grammy nominated.
I love it.
Yeah. Aria doesn't sit well with me. I want to get to the top, all the way up to the top. Like,
Awesome.
Sounds great.
yeah.
Shoot for the international stage. I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that's where you want to be in 5 years. Do you have sort of steps in your mind on how you're going to get there, or like you're just thinking that's the end goal, I'm going to take it day by day?
No, I do have a plan, but the thing is with plans is, especially another thing I've learned is like, for you to keep up with like everything that's happening, this plan has to be like malleable.
Mm.
It can't be, because the thing is you're going to run into like problem after problem after problem. It's a matter of how can I tweak my goal, or like not tweak my goal, tweak how I'm going to get to my goal with the new situations and circumstances that I'm faced with. But I do have a plan. It's just, I know that by this stage, like say 6 months ahead, maybe a year ahead, maybe 2 years ahead, the goal is going to be the same. It's always going to be the same, but I might be attacking it differently. There may be a new social media by then that I'd be able to utilize. Like, you never know. The world changes like so quick. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So just keeping the flexibility to go with the flow, and you've got that overarching 5-year plan, and how you get there might shift and change along the way, but you'll get there. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited to see you at the Grammys in 5 years then.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so much for today. Do you want to plug your socials? Where can they find you on social media, on Spotify, that sort of thing?
Yeah. On all streaming platforms, the name's Samuel Jr. Instagram, I go under Saint Pyrex. And for my TikTok, I'm really starting to take TikTok a bit more seriously now, even though like I'm dreading it. At Forever Pyrex. We're making moves,
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it, boys. Y'all take care.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Follow us on your favourite podcasting platform to never miss another episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Museek.app for all the latest updates and constant music recommendations. Be sure to head over to our website, museekdiscovery.com, to find our track of the week, curated playlist, blogs, and so much more.